How does opportunity cost affect decision making? Decision making is already difficult, but when you factor in opportunity costs and start to think about it, it can make it even more difficult to make a decision and commit to it. But in my video today, I plan to share what is opportunity cost and then how does it affect decision making, and also how to get over it to be able to commit to make it easier for you to get where you want to go. With that being said, my name is Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life on Your Terms, and I make these videos to pass on my experience and pass on my knowledge to make it easier for you guys to do these things and make those decisions. And on top of that, in the past for me, it was so hard for me to make decisions. I could never just choose something and commit to it. Even as something as simple as eating M&Ms or Skittles, I couldn't make that decision. But once I started implementing some of these things and just committing to them, it made it a lot easier. So with that being said, I promise you by the end of this video, you will understand how does opportunity cost affect your decision making. So the first thing we have to go over to understand how it affects decision making is actually what is opportunity cost. I think a lot of people don't even necessarily understand what it is. And so what it is the value of the next best option or the other options when making a decision. So for me, with my M&Ms or Skittles example, well, if I eat the M&Ms, I don't get to eat the Skittles, and that may be the next best option, but I also don't get to eat all these other candies, and that's the opportunity cost of me choosing M&Ms, assuming, I'm only gonna eat one bag of candy, stuff like that. But it can be exposed to something a lot bigger scale other than just M&Ms and Skittles. You can think about this with money. So for example, if you're gonna spend $1,000 on a TV, that $1,000 could also be used in so many other areas that could be costing you in terms of opportunity. For example, in 2010, if you would have bought a $1,000 TV or you bought $1,000 in crypto, well, you'd be in a lot different financial position. I know that's not necessarily realistic to just save all your money. I'm not telling you to just spend all your money on only good opportunities. You need to spend money on things that are fun, like TVs and stuff like that. But I'm just telling you, understanding the opportunity cost when you're doing so can be very helpful. So that's one example, is spending money. So you could spend this $100 on dinner, or you could spend this $100 towards a course that could be helpful for you to learn some things, or a gym membership, whatever it may be. You just have to look at yourself like, okay, when I'm spending this money, I'm not only losing this money on this thing, but I'm losing money on all of the other things I'm not buying, which again is totally okay. It's just important to recognize this opportunity cost. And on top of spending money, a great one is spending time, because it's the only resource that does not renew and you cannot get more of. So if you sit down and watch 4 hours of TV, well, you're not only just spending that time doing that, but imagine all the other things you could be doing with 4 hours. You could be with family, you could be working on your business or your job or making money, or you could be at fitness. And again, I'm not telling you not to do these things. It's just important to understand what are you losing and missing out on by spending your time, spending your money this way. It's the same thing with jobs. If you're looking at a certain job and you're like, this job looks great, well, you could pursue that job, and let's say it's like a software engineer compared, like a front-end software engineer compared to a back-end software engineer. Well, you have to understand that by going the front-end route, you're gonna get better at that, but also you're gonna be missing out on developing the skills of back-end. I'm not saying you shouldn't do any of these. Again, it's just understanding what is the difference when you're making these decisions. Now, on top of that, it's important to understand opportunity costs so you can make informed decisions and realize the cost. Again, totally okay to do these things. It's just understanding the cost can be very helpful. So that's what opportunity cost is. So the second piece of this is decision making and opportunity costs, and how actually opportunity cost affects decision making. My first recommendation is to not over-evaluate every option, because not making a decision will cost you the most. So if we go back to our $1,000 that we were gonna spend on a TV, if you just sit and think about how you could spend that money and not spend it on a TV, well, what'll happen is, number one, crypto would have gone up and you would have lost out on that, on a long enough time horizon. Number two, you're not gonna get to enjoy the TV because you thought so much about spending money in different ways. So you're just gonna actually just sit on the money and waste time. Same thing with time. If you're just gonna watch the 4 hours of TV, but you think about it 2 hours beforehand, think about all the options you could do, you're just wasting more time. So I encourage you to actually just commit, evaluate the options, just commit and own it. And it's okay. There's opportunity costs with everything. You're gonna miss out on everything, or like not on everything that you don't choose to pursue, and that's okay. It's okay, and I would encourage you to not over-evaluate and just commit. And on top of just committing and over-evaluating, a really easy marker or North Star that you can use to make decisions quicker is to ask yourself, what is your one thing? So for me, making these videos right now, I could be doing a million other things. I could be learning how to code. I could be reading a book. I could be out doing physical labor. There's so many other things I could be doing to make money, but my one thing is to help empower others to not have a victim mentality and take control of their lives. Because in the past, that's how I was. So I want to help others make that change. So it's really easy for me to understand my one thing would be to make content that is helpful and send messages out to advertise myself and get my coaching out there. That's my one thing. So it makes it really easy for me to know what to work on. So I would encourage you, if you haven't, to read the book, The One Thing. And then once you read that, or if you're familiar with the concept, you can have a really clear North Star that makes it easy for you to understand what you should do with your time, what you should do with your money, and you don't really have to evaluate what else you could be working on because you have a North Star. So it almost solves the problem of opportunity cost. For me, when I sit down to work, I don't have to think about all the different things I could be working on because I know this is the most valuable to spread my message and my purpose and my meaning. And I know those things will change, but right now, I believe these things have the highest amount of leverage for me in the long term. And on top of the one thing in your time is that you can get good at a very few things in your purpose. And that's part of the reason where opportunity cost does come in, is that it takes so long to get good at something that you have to stick to it, and you have to put kind of your time and kind of all your eggs not in one basket, but you really have to focus on that thing. You can't work on coding one day and then content another about completely separate things. You won't ever get great at that, and you'll actually just be sacrificing getting good at that, and that's going to be your opportunity you're losing out on. So instead, it's better to just get good at one thing and sacrifice everything else, because that one thing is what you're betting on. So the key with opportunity cost and decision making is simply ask yourself, when taking on something, when committing to something, what are you giving up? Just giving it a thought, just giving it one thought, like, okay, with this $1,000, what am I potentially giving up? With this 4 hours of time, what am I potentially giving up? If you can just run that through your head before you make a decision, it can help you in the long run, because then you'll probably make better decisions. On top of that, it'll reduce regret and stuff like that. So when you think back on decisions and your $1,000, you're like, you know what, that thought already ran through my head. I was totally okay with buying the TV. I know I missed out on X, Y, or Z. Or the time, you know what, I was committed to spending these 4 hours just relaxing, and I'm okay, I didn't do this, but yet I already thought about it. It can help you not regret things and just move through these things by making great decisions and not letting opportunity cost affect your decision making. So again, what's really helpful is to not over-evaluate every option, because not making a decision is a decision. On top of that, creating a one thing and a North Star can be very helpful for you to move through these things and make a decision clearly. And then when you're making a decision, just simply run it through your head. Like, okay, what am I missing out with this opportunity cost? If you do those 3 things, I think the opportunity cost won't affect decision making as much, and you'll make sound decisions that you'll be able to commit to. On top of this, if you haven't made the decision to take the balance wheel in the description below, that can be really helpful in this process, because it lays out your life as a whole pie: professional, relationships, resources, and health. And by doing this, you can kind of choose what are you maybe missing out on in some of those areas. On top of that, if you will comment if you like this video, it's really helpful for me to understand what you guys like. And if you like and subscribe as well, that is very helpful. And I'll see you guys in the next one.